Can you believe that there wasn't a BoJack clip that directly relates to this video? Can't imagine why that would be. Before we get into the real intro, I need my impromptu intro. I need to get this off my chest. You guys are fake, because why was I the last person on the planet to find out about Pounded by... The fuck? Tell me why I stumbled upon this book and I hadn't heard about it before. This has been out since February of this year, but still, since February. This has been out for months. We're supposed to be a family, we're supposed to be a unit. When you find weird stuff like this, your first instinct should be to tell me about it. Because I want to know. I got through this without flinching. Nothing is too much for me. You guys gotta let me know about these things. What happened to community? On to the real intro. Usually when I bring up the fact that I love to read, hi, it's me, I love reading, their follow-up question typically is,
oh, what kind of books do you typically read?
My normal response to this question is usually literary fiction, horror, or romance, because according to the app Fable, not sponsored, I just really like the app. Also Storygraph, really like Storygraph. Anyway, according to Fable, my top 3 genres are literary fiction, horror, and romance. And literary fiction is beating romance and horror by like a landslide. It's not even a contest. Join my book club on Fable. We're currently reading The Shining by Stephen King. Look at my bio on YouTube right now. All work and no play makes world a dull star. Where do you think I got that from? Litfic has a sophisticated exterior that makes you seem somewhat well read because of the reputation that it has. Like romance, everyone thinks that romance is like gooning for girls, but it's not that. Literary fiction, typically in high regard because there's a lot of really like well-written books within the literary fiction genre. Saying that I only read literary fiction or mostly read literary fiction, that doesn't narrow anything down. That's very, very broad, right? Because the books that I'm reading are about women who are sexually attracted to airplanes. I've read a book about a man who has a rare disease that makes him turn into a great white shark. And I've also read a book about a woman who is fully convinced that she is an alien. And she's also in love with her cousin. Like she's straight up married to her cousin. Not legally, but you get my point. She's in love with her cousin. That's the literary fiction I'm engaging with. I don't tell people that. That is how I choose to spend my days off. Despite litfic, horror, and romance being my big 3, I have a guilty pleasure subgenre that I occasionally dip my toes into. Sentient object romances. This subgenre is exactly how it sounds. These are romance books about people who get down and dirty with sentient objects. Calling them romance books is a little bit of a stretch, I won't lie, because most of the time the attraction is mostly physical until they randomly decide that they're in love with each other. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. I'm not fully convinced that these beings or creatures are in love with each other at all. I think they are. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into the psychology of what's going on in those sentient object romances. A lot of them are novellas, so there's only so much character development you can do within like 100 pages or less. I digress. Now, before you start calling me a pervert that gets off on this weird shit, let me remind you of something. Yes to being a pervert, no for gooning to it, purely for entertainment purposes only. I actually haven't read a sentient object romance in quite some time. It's been about like over a year or so since I read my last one. This book has made me relapse. Pounded by Produce by G.M. Ferry. What a name. What a cover. Jesus, look at that. Was this worth the $4 that I spent on it? Honestly, no. I would have honestly gotten more enrichment out of buying a gallon of Milo's extra sweet tea, but it's too late for a refund now. Today, I will be giving you the nitty-gritty rundown of Pounded by Produce. In a sense, this video is I read Pounded by Produce by G.M. Ferry, so you didn't have to. The best part about these books is simply just how ridiculous the plots are. Don't take this seriously. Jesus Christ, the last thing you should be doing is reading a sentient object romance and taking it seriously. Embrace it, truly. Embrace the absurdity, because I sure did. I was having a blast while reading this. This is going to be a fun video. No drama, no discourse, and oh God, thank God, no Twitter screenshots. Also, I will be spoiling the book. Duh. So welcome to Pounded by Produce by G.M. Ferry. Plot summary provided by yours truly, WURLD. Asterisk star. The way this low-key looks like found footage. Let's do a little bit of cover analysis here. As you can tell, the vegetables on the cover are aligned in a way that is meant to be a little suggestive. Really love the artistry here. Love the work. Yeah, don't be alarmed. I will be periodically inserting videos of me reading the book for the first time. These are my raw reactions. However, they were recorded on the back of a toaster. So I was in the dark and I didn't feel like turning on a real light. I apologize. Also, further context before we actually start talking about the book itself. This was inspired by Veggie Tales. This book was advertised to me as the erotic Veggie Tales novel. If you don't know, Veggie Tales is a children's TV show about talking vegetables that taught their viewers about like the Bible and stuff. I actually had no idea that Veggie Tales was religious in any shape or form until probably, I don't even know, whenever Rick and Morty season 4 or season 5 came out, because there was this one episode, it was the story train episode. God, I think that's season 4. It doesn't matter. Point is, there was a story train episode, and Rick and Morty at the very end of the episode, spoiler alert, they were literally saved by Jesus Christ himself, and also the VeggieTales characters were there. There's a lot of things going on in that episode. Point is, VeggieTales is religious. I had no idea. I watched it casually during my childhood. I wasn't like the biggest VeggieTales fan. I was just aware of its existence. So Pounded by Produce was a breath of fresh air for me personally, because it sort of broke out of this typical mold that these sentient object books tends to stick to, whether intentional or accidental. There was a period of time where the pacing of these books felt similar to each other to the point that it was formulaic, but this book exceeded my horrifically low expectations. They were never high to begin with. I had absolutely zero expectations going into it, but I liked the change of pace a little bit. I'm not saying that all the sentient object romance books out there are the same, but it just, at a certain point, it did feel like just copy and paste. The book opens up with a brief rundown on Emily, our female main character, and her current situation. It is never specified where she is living exactly, but it is somewhere without reliable transportation and Wi-Fi. I don't know, she was living in like a shack or something. A cardboard box under a bridge. Who knows? After finally ditching Daryl, her financially and verbally abusive boyfriend, she is itching for a new start, and her first order of business is to find herself a new job. Oh, she didn't have a job, actually. Her boyfriend did not allow her to have a job. She was basically just a stay-at-home girlfriend. It was a whole thing. Don't worry about Daryl. Daryl is not important after this part. Daryl only exists for trauma purposes, because our characters need to have trauma. Emily's dream job is a quiet area that offers her a place to live while also allowing her to explore her hobbies, which is cooking and watering plants. Someone needs to introduce this poor girl to Animal Crossing. While looking through newspaper ads, she found the perfect place for her, which was a job in a remote rural place as a live-in cook for a Catholic church. Her reaction to this job listing was, and I quote, "I nearly pooped my pants." Don't start biting your nails in anticipation. Did she get the job? Did she not get the job? She did. On the spot, actually, which is very concerning. That is red flag for jobs 101. Don't ever go to the job that hires you right out the gate. But whatever. Don't listen to me. Go chase your bag, I guess. The cherry on top of this shit sandwich is that Emily isn't even Catholic. Not that I guess you don't really need the chef to be Catholic necessarily, but it's like, wouldn't you want somebody who kind of gives a shit about Jesus Christ to be in your kitchen cooking your food? Wouldn't you want somebody who's not whispering satanic enchantments into your soup? Whatever. Not my church, not my monkeys. Clearly these people would hire Lucifer himself if he was competent enough to make a sandwich. Meanwhile, at the church, we have 2 priests there that are, quite frankly, gay as hell. Yeah. Very gay. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, because I clocked that the second that I saw them interacting in the book for the first time.
Now these bitches gay as fuck. Don't let the fact that they're priests distract you from the fact that they're gay as shit. We've never been afraid to touch each other in a friendly manner. Rubbing shoulders, fake sincere kisses on the head, arms intertwined, normal bloke exchanges. Nah, man. Nah, man. Nah, it's okay. It's legal now.
Maybe the official fan confirmation has heightened my senses lately, but like, I could smell those homosexuals from a mile away. Right. Our 2 priests in question are Father Robert and Father Laurent, and they live in the church, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, I was not paying attention when they were talking about the layout of the building. Sorry, I'm terrible at details like that. Throughout the whole book, they're only ever really in 5 locations: the confessional booth, the kitchen, Emily's bedroom, the farm, or somewhere close to said farm, the priest's office. I think that's 6 places, actually. So Father Robert, let's start with him. He is your typical straight-laced priest, minus the straightness, because He has a thing with Father Laurent. The two priests were roommates at preschool. That's not what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. And outside of that one night where they were choking their hugs together while staring longingly into each other's eyes from across the room, they haven't had any explicit encounters whatsoever. Very, very normal, typical roommate relationship. On all of your mother's souls, everybody has done something like that with the roommate at one time. That's just how roommates are. This is on your mother's, by the way, not mine. So you know the black cat golden retriever trope? Robert would be the black cat. Unfortunately for everybody involved, the only two emotions that Robert can ever express is angst and shame, which is annoying, but I guess it helps him follow the priestly rules. It didn't really help that much, but it kind of helps. His angst is blamed on his emotionally unavailable family and poverty, so you have to cut him some slack, you guys. Trauma! It's also the reason why he can climb trees like a monkey, or the crab man from Disco Elysium. Speaking of Disco Elysium, I have a second channel where I have been playing Disco Elysium and uploading my playthrough. Guys, I finished the game recently. The final part of my Disco Elysium series will be out soon. It was a really good game. Anyway, so the tree climbing thing was only vaguely relevant to the overall plot, and honestly, I would have cut this whole section out of the video, but the detail just felt so random. I just felt inclined to add it into the video. But also I wanted an excuse to plug the second channel, so go subscribe to the second channel. The golden retriever in this situation is Father Laurent, and he is the polar opposite of Father Robert. Laurent is more laid back and could write novels expressing himself if he had to. He also comes from a rich family and became a priest because he felt like he needed a life purpose, you know? He's honestly just here for a good time, and I'm kind of here for it. Not really a lot of trauma on his hand. He's kind of just there. It's okay to just be there. You don't have to be super mysterious and interesting all the time. Sometimes you can just exist. The history books would say that Robert and Laurent were really good friends, but we all know the truth. That closet wasn't even made of glass. It was made out of oxygen molecules because it wasn't there. Here's a side note that might help you visualize what's going on in this story. I was low-key imagining Robert as Sebastian and Laurent as Sam from Stardew Valley, which made this entire experience even more unserious, but at this point, lean into it. Would Emily be Abigail in this scenario? This is getting weird all of a sudden. When Emily met our priest for the first time, there was an instant attraction between all parties involved. Nothing crazy happened off Rift, okay? It was just, oh, we see each other kind of moment, you know what I mean? But listen, the woman, she has eyes, and her eyes were saying that she wants them to squirt their holy water. We gotta keep the decorum around here, you guys. Not too much, though, because I already RSVP'd my seat in hell, and I know that I'm sharing a bunk bed with Greg Heffley, and my neighbor will probably be Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's just I've made peace with my god. I'll see you all down there, though. This book has a My Little Pony friendship is magic kind of vibe going on, with their overarching message being no different than what Rowley said in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. One of those, like, outdated informational videos about how cool it is to be yourself. I mean, first of all, that's Rowley's whole shtick.
My mom told me to just be myself and people would like me.
Without getting too lost in the sauce, a little old woman was lurking around the church and basically put a hex on the two priests or something. I don't know. She just spoke in riddles to the two of them, and they were like, whatever, woman.
Tonight is the harvest moon where spirits come to play. All that is hidden will be brought to light. You two need a transformation. It's up to you both to define the true fruits of your soul. What is happening?
The curse makes them turn into vegetables whenever the three of them, Emily, Robert, Laurent, are alone together. Robert turns into a tomato and Laurent turns into a cucumber.
Wait a minute. What are the names of the VeggieTale characters? Larry the cucumber, aka Laurent, Bob the tomato, Robert. Right.
As random as this all seems, there is a logical explanation for all of this. I'm not telling you what it is right now, though. God, you're so impatient. It's not fun if I tell you right now. The first time that this transformation happened, Emily was inadvertently approaching the two men while they were rolling around in the vegetable garden, which is not an innuendo of any kind. That was literally what they were doing. They were just rolling around eating vegetables while wine drunk. Guess what two vegetables they were eating? Robert, tomato, Laurent, cucumber. Yes. So eventually the two priests fall asleep in the garden, and Emily walks up to their sleeping bodies early in the morning, because she was picking vegetables for the day. The twist here is that she stumbles upon their sleeping bodies, except the bodies are not human bodies. They're vegetable bodies. That sounds really bad. When I said that their bodies are a vegetable, obviously I am not talking about dehumanizing people who are in a vegetative state. I'm trying my best to avoid that verbiage, even though that's not technically what I'm talking about. So Emily stumbles upon Robert and Laurent as produce, and she did not immediately recognize them, because why would she? You see a tomato and a cucumber on the ground, you're thinking, yes, those are my bosses right there. Do you walk into a grocery store and assume that there's a sausage party situation going on in there? No. Picture this. Emily in the vegetable garden picking up Robert the tomato and Laurent the cucumber. She has them in her palms. She's looking at them longingly, clearly checking them out for longer than she needs to. And she's mumbling to herself. But other than that, her reaction to these two produce, totally normal. So she continues to collect other vegetables in the garden and starts chopping up said vegetables that may or may not be sentient. We honestly do not know. How morbid would it be if the other vegetables were also sentient because they were also cursed by that little old lady? But we don't know because we're not following their POVs. Anyway, rest in peace to Peter the potato, Leroy the lettuce head, and Carson the carrots. They will be missed and forgotten, because who even are they? The entire time that Emily was cutting up these vegetables, she was clearly fighting some inner demons of her own. It got so bad that she had to compose herself at the sink. Like, she was white-knuckling the edge of the counter, and she was like trying to will herself together. Pull it together, Emily, pull it together. And right as she composed herself, her attention snapped back to the cucumber and tomato. At this point, you're wondering why the hell she is getting so worked over two pieces of food. We have to go back to page 20 of the book. This is happening around page 90 something, but we got to back it up to page 20. Emily, at the very beginning of the book-ish, had a dream that she was being seduced by the two priests. Mind you, this was the night after she met the priest briefly. I think she had a conversation with Laurent, but that was it. Brief conversation with the priest, and then she moseyed her ass onto bed. And so she had a dream about the two priests. They were seducing her in her dream. Now, the reader, me, did not know that this was a dream sequence until the very end. So I was just assuming that these priests were on demon time. I was fully convinced that there was just absolutely no self-restraint with these priests whatsoever. Because I was like, page 20, and the priests are seducing Emily already? I was like, y'all didn't even try.
Both of their faces are stern, authoritative, but their words feel different, suggestive, and loose. Ugh. Mind you, this is page 20. Oh my god, I have tears in my eyes. Mind you, we're still on page 20. Father Laurent walks around and down the pew until he reaches me, places a large hand on my shoulder. Don't look so nervous. You asked God to fill you up, and here we are, ready to use you for his will. This is so stupid.
Everything about this book, I took it at face value. I did not even suspect. I mean, I did actually for like a second. I was like, this has to be a dream. But then I just took it at face value because I was like, why not? So in this dream sequence, Emily had her hand in Laurent's pants and she was touching his junk, and his dick was smooth because his dick was a cucumber. That's the best part about this book. Nothing is coy, because now here is Laurent physically as a cucumber. He is a cucumber. It's not just a part of him, it's all of him. So Emily takes the sentient produce to her room and does exactly what you think she would do with them. If you're wondering how Robert and Laurent are feeling during this whole entire ordeal, they're doing just fine. Don't even worry about them. They are exactly where they want to be. Do not save them. They want to be there. In their produce form, they cannot move their bodies. This is not a pickle Rick situation. They can't move. However, they can feel what's going on. Laurent did testify that as a cucumber, his whole body felt like a dick, which I'd imagine is a good thing. You're dying for these details. But during the climax of this scene, the produce squirts tomatoes and cucumber seeds. Tomatoes are juicy, so that makes sense, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the logistics of cucumber seeds shooting out of the cucumber. I'd imagine that would hurt. Cucumbers aren't very soft. Afterwards, Emily falls asleep, which speaks volumes about her worth ethic, because so far all she's done that day was cut a few vegetables up and screw around with the uncut vegetables. She doesn't work for me, she works for the church, and clearly this church does not do background checks, so this is exactly what they deserve. Later that day, Emily wakes up to see the two priests as human beings this time, but they're on her bedroom floor. At this point, everybody in the club is confused. In typical Robert fashion, he assumes that the events that just transpired were a dream. Sorry, Robert. The dream sequence in the book has already happened. You can't have two dream sequences within a book. That's just too much. Laurent, however, he knew that it wasn't a dream and decided to confront the situation head on. He's a very confrontational human being, or confrontational cucumber? He said, nuh-uh, you're not gonna gaslight me. My freaky ass was enjoying myself as a cucumber and you're not gonna take that away from me. He didn't say that, but that's basically what he said. So Robert, he started having an existential crisis. He decided to avoid the two as long as he could. Common theme. This will not be the last time he does this. He tries to reach out to God for answers, but all he gets is Big G's voicemail, and the box is full. That is the second box that's been full throughout this book so far. Sorry, I'm better than that. So Laurent confronts Robert in the confessional booth and finally gets Robert to open up about how he's feeling about this whole turning into a tomato situation. The opening up doesn't just stop there. They start admitting a lot of things to each other, like the secret taboo things that they were doing in the dark while they were roommates. Oh my god, what's that BoJack quote? There's a BoJack quote. Naked, honest, and revealing.
It's so naked and honest and revealing.
It is. Uh-oh.
Season 1, episode 12. I haven't been watching BoJack a lot recently. I'm starting to lose it, but I still got it. They're confessing a lot of things in this confessional booth, which I suppose is the spirit of the booth in the first place, so I suppose they're using it correctly, kind of. They're a little confused, but they got the spirit. This is what happens when you hire priests off of what, Craigslist? Where'd you get these people from, Temu? I took an online quiz to get ordained when I was 15. That does not mean that I'm qualified to officiate anybody's wedding. Just because they say they're priests doesn't mean they're actually priests. With that being said, name your price, and make sure that there's a sushi tower present. I will happily officiate your wedding, as long as you meet those two requirements. I'm very easy to please. Sorry, while we were talking about sushi towers just now, Robert and Laurent are beating their meats in the confessional booth, like right now. Like, there's zero decorum. At least Robert has the decency to feel shame afterwards. Like I told you, angst and shame, that's all the man can feel. So he feels shame afterwards because his post-nut clarity had him running from the scene of the crime. Because I'm pretty sure this is a crime. Is this a crime? It's at least public indecency. I hope nobody else was in the building. Enough about them. Those two are exhausting. Poor Emily. She's absolutely mortified by what happened because she just got there and now she has defiled the two people that she works for. Also, she knows that as a woman, all the backlash would be put on her in order to save the priest's unholy asses, and she'd be damned if she let them ruin her reputation. Mind you, she's damned regardless because yikes, girl. But now she's really screwed. No pun intended.
You clearly intended that pun.
During dinner time, the three of them are alone together again, which is a recipe for disaster, but let's keep going. Emily decides to address the giant tomato and cucumber in the room. After exchanging theories about the reasoning behind this old woman cursing them and what's going on and why this is happening to them, the two priests turn into produce again. And instead of getting turned on, Emily freaks out, as she should, because what the hell. But not before calling them two of the sexiest vegetables in the world.
Alone with two of the sexiest vegetables in the world. Not sure how I feel about that sentence.
Sentences are being written that have never been written before. Now, if you're a bigger pervert than I am, you're thinking, darn, there was no action in that scene. What, they turned into vegetables and she decided not to fool around with them again? Oh, wasted opportunity. Fear not. The following morning, they did end up turning into produce again, and this time Emily does take advantage of the situation. Yes, she did. But here's the thing. Before they turned into the tomato and the cucumber, they had a discussion that morning about the ethics of the situation itself. Obviously, priests are supposed to be celibate. What happened the other day was a big no-no. Robert rationalized this whole ordeal by saying that he was not a man of God when all of that was happening. He was just a tomato.
Here's a lovely quote from Robert. My point is, this thing between the three of us, it's stronger than anything I've ever felt. It almost feels like the pull I feel from God when I joined seminary school. Maybe this is a gift. I'm not sure why he chose to turn us into vegetables, but if I'm a tomato, I'm not a man of God. I'm just a veggie, and veggies can't sin.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Robert. I'm not gonna argue with you. In their food forms, they're evolving, apparently, because they have the ability to vibrate. I wish I was kidding.
Oh my god, they're learning how to move. Laurent the cucumber willed himself to move. He can vibrate.
Laurent the cucumber can vibrate.
Oh, come on.
The more they accept their circumstance, the better each session is for all parties involved. The fine print says, though, if you read it, it's right at the bottom, very, very tiny font. It says that this only works if all three of them are 100% on board. It doesn't take a genius to deduce who the weakest link is. Because of this newfound arrangement, the priests are totally off their game because this gets them in trouble with their boss because they're not really priesting correctly. Their boss's name is Bishop Archibald. At this point, you can't even deny that VeggieTales has any impact on the story because the priests joked that Archibald would turn into an asparagus. If you don't know, there is a character in VeggieTales named Archibald and he is an asparagus. Because they were almost fired, or well, not fired necessarily, but they were going to be put on like a sabbatical or something. I don't know. Either way, they were almost booted from the pews. Robert decided to end the arrangement with Laurent and Emily because he needs to be a good priest again. He needs to be back in the good graces of God. Laurent tries to change Robert's mind by opening up his heart and bearing his soul and admitting that he was never super jazzed about being a priest in the first place, but he went through all of this turmoil for Robert. How adorable. I suppose in a way that is Laurent's trauma, being madly in love with Robert, and Robert sucking so much, or at least not sucking in the way that Laurent wants him to. Laurent's solution to this was impulsively kiss him, Robert, on the mouth. As a human being, we love a love triangle, a real love triangle, not that phony one that y'all were gagged by all summer. Not that could have ever been a true love triangle in the first place, because they were brothers, weren't they? But you get my point, though. Every woman wants two boyfriends, and she wants her boyfriends to also be boyfriends. Is that too much to ask? After Laurent accidentally scares away one of his hoes, he turns to his other hoe. Honestly, I've been recording for an hour. I've been dragging this out for too long. Let's just cut to the chase. They went to Pound Town. Laurent was not a cucumber. Finally, love making between a man and a woman the way God intended. We're back in God's country. Meanwhile, Robert is somewhere licking his wounds, literally, because he's a nail biter and he's wrecking those nail beds. Though at some point, he is alone with Emily, and she not so subtly tells him that she fooled around with Laurent, and they were both humans at the time. Like, honestly, no waterboarding was necessary to get that information out of her. In fact, she seemed a little too eager to let him know. Don't tell Emily a secret. She will not be able to keep it. The first person that even talks to her, she's spilling the beans. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. The jealousy and the FOMO got Robert's ass, though, because he unexpectedly decided to kiss her. Forcefully. Not unconsensually necessarily, but it was a little bit aggressive. But the sudden brashness of his actions snapped him out of it, and he did what he does best. He ran away. He's literally Serena Vanderwoodson.
I gotta go. Sorry, I gotta run. Okay, I'm gonna go. I should go. Oh, that's my cue to go. I have to go. I should go.
The next day, Emily decides to turn to the confessional booth for moral support during these trying times. I don't know how many times these people have to turn to the confessional booth to realize that the confessional booth does the opposite of what they want. Something's always going down in that booth. Do they sanitize it? Also, another reason to avoid the confessional booth, one of the priests are usually in the other booth listening. And there's only two of them. Obviously, one of the priests are in the booth, and here she is, confessing her sins involving said priests. I'm giving her too much heat. Maybe she thought that the priests would have the decency to respect the confessional booth, because I'm pretty sure this was her first time in the booth. She didn't know that heinous activities went down in these confessional booths. She probably thought this was a normal exchange. Unholy activities ensued. Robert, the one in the booth, because of course he was, and he decided to defile that place for a second time that week. Nothing is sacred around here, you guys. Absolutely nothing. A day later, the three of them are eating dinner in the house, and Robert has been avoiding everyone. Again, here they are, the three of them together again for dinner time once more. After everyone around the room confesses to fooling around with each other as human beings this time, and not as a tomato and not as a cucumber, Laurent decides to propose a solution that involves them fooling around as produce again. I do not know why he decided to propose this, since they already broke their vow of celibacy. Is it a vow? I don't know. Either way, they're supposed to be celibate. They're not anymore. The streak is broken. Robert is against rekindling anything with them, and he just wants to be a God-fearing priest again. That's all he wants. Laurent hears him. He's like, okay, Robert, okay. But what if I defiled Emily right in front of you right here, right now, right in front of your salad? How would you feel about that? So you can have fun sitting there by yourself being sad, but what are you going to do about it? And Robert's like, yeah, do whatever you want. Robert was really trying to win the gold medal in the nonchalant Olympics, and he's losing by a landslide. He's not even going for the silver. He's not even going for the bronze because he's obviously turned on by the whole interaction. Because here's Laurent smashing Emily on the dining room table. Robert's obviously getting into it because he's touching himself. But you know who isn't turned on though? Gail. Who the hell is Gail, you might be wondering. Let's rewind to the very beginning of the book, shall we? When Emily first got this job, the person who greeted her at the church when she first arrived was this friendly old woman named Gail. She lives in the church, actually. She only does it part-time. And so throughout the events of this book, Gail was out of town because she was on vacation. But surprise, Gail's back. And what great timing she has. She might even be able to sub in for round 2. I'm kidding. That's gross. No, she died right there in the kitchen, actually. Her pacemaker probably exploded and she flatlined before she even hit the floor. It was truly a traumatic thing to witness. Not only are all 3 people fired, but they're probably getting charged with involuntary manslaughter as we speak. Okay, so that actually didn't happen, but she is old. It's not out of the realm of possibility. All 3 of them did get fired, though. That definitely did happen, yeah. Laurent uses this newfound unemployment as an opportunity to confess his undying love to Robert, finally. No beating around the bush or beating his meat near said bush. Robert, he hears him. He hears Laurent talking. Yeah. They start fooling around right there in the priest's office. Afterwards, what does Robert do? Say it with me, everybody. He runs away. He should sign up for track or something. This guy's incredible. So while that soap opera is happening in the priest's office, Emily is seriously contemplating becoming a nun, since the source of all of her problems seem to have a common denominator, which is man. While deciding her next steps, Emily meets the old woman that created this whole mess in the first place. The creepy old woman reveals that the vegetable curse is the universe's way of saying that the 3 of them are destined to be together, and this whole ordeal was the way that the universe decided to tell them that.
Y'all gotta hear what this lady is saying. Jesus Christ. You 3 are destined for each other, cut from the same cloth. The universe wants you 3 together, and this was how they chose to bring you to each other. They turned into vegetables whenever the 3 of you are together, and at least one of you admits your desires to yourselves while the other denies their true feelings.
I don't know, I feel like if the universe decided to brainstorm for longer than 10 seconds, maybe workshopped it a little bit, had some peer reviews, literally talked to anybody else about it just to bounce ideas off of them, see what sticks, we could have come up with a better solution than that, but sure. Cucumbers and tomatoes, why not? Yeah, that's totally fine. The old woman reveals that the only way that the 3 of them could be truly happy together and fulfill their destinies is to get all 3 parties to bare their souls to each other and be honest about their feelings. At the moment, the 3 of them are that meme of the 2 people consenting, but Jesus isn't. Guess who's Jesus in this scenario? Robert, he was about to skip town, but before he did, because again, he loves to run, he decides to show up at Emily's door one last time just to clear the air. When he gets there, though, he bumps into Laurent, who is also already waiting outside of Emily's front door. The 2 men are hella confused because they're like, what the hell are you doing here? The confusion doesn't last very long because as Emily opens up the door, they turn into a tomato and a cucumber once more. As a tomato, Robert's thinking in his tomato brain that he is ready to admit his feelings for Emily and Laurent. I suppose that triggers them to turn back into humans again. And so they go in a circle, they take turns holding the feeling stick, and they express their love for each other. Emily has known these men for a week at best, but whatever. The universe, it works in mysterious ways. Why have one bitch when you can have 2 of them? So yay, they all love each other. The 3 of them buy a farm and they live in a secluded area where they can freely partake in their debauchery while also making a living specializing in 2 vegetables in particular. You do not need me to tell you which 2 vegetables they decide to sell. And that is Pounded by Produce by G.M. Ferry. Out of all the sentient object romances I have read, this one is by far the most interesting one I've ever read. And it's probably because this book was 195 pages, which is almost as long as The Firm by John Grisham.
Nice. Okay, this is great. That puts us at 216 pages. Holy shit, that's almost as long as The Firm by John Grisham.
I love sentient object romances. They're seriously so fun. But other sentient object romances I have read, in case you were curious, I didn't mention them at the very beginning. Squeak by Vera Valentine, which is about a woman who falls in love with a sentient balloon animal. I've also read Unhinged by Vera Valentine, which is a woman who falls in love with a sentient door, like her front door. I've also read Stuffed by Sylvia Morrow, which is a woman who falls in love with her pillow. And then there's also a sequel to that called Double Stuffed. The pillow is back, and this random goldfish is thrown into the mix. Of all things, a goldfish? Fine, whatever. That's the video. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, do whatever you want. I don't care. All the links to my social media will be down in the description. I'm pretty sure I plugged all of the big ones. I have a Discord if you want to keep up with when I upload content. I have an Instagram too. On my Instagram story, I'm frequently giving, well, not frequently, but I do give updates there for people who aren't in the Discord as well. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys sometime. I don't know when. I went to Clancy Tour Breach recently. You want to see my zip up I bought? It was $90. Worth it. My name's 21 Pilots. I don't perform my best song off of the album that just came out. Downstairs. Also, that's Smiling Friends. Okay, bye.
And he's hard. Wait, so his dick is a cucumber? Oh, it was a dream. It was just a dream. Okay, never mind. They woke up the next morning, at least Laurent woke up the next morning. He's a cucumber now. And Robert is a tomato. Okay, I see what's going on here. Except I don't. What? How does... Huh? Laurent's a munch. Everyone celebrate. The little old lady who lives at the house part-time, she came back early and walked in on this shit show. Oh my god. That poor woman is traumatized. And now apparently they're all destined to be in love with each other. Robert and Laurent being in love, okay, fine. But Emily loving the both of them, bit of a stretch. And she says it too. She's like, love, I just met these two like 3 business days ago. And Gail's like, hey man, I get it. From what I saw, it was pretty hot. If I were you, I'd be in love too. What on earth is going on here? Okay, I think these are the last words of the book. It's everything I could have ever wanted. Our love story is a weird fucking tale, but it's my favorite. The tale of the veggies who found love. The end. 5 stars.